Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk, and in today's episode we are going to be breaking down and reviewing the season premiere of Arrow Season 7 entitled Inmate 4587, so let's discuss. So if you guys have been keeping up with my videos over the summer period and in the run up to Arrow Season 7, you'll know that I am very hyped for Arrow going into Season 7. I think all the trailers we've gotten and all the information we've received about this season has been very exciting and has definitely been building up to what appears to be a fantastic season of the show. And obviously I am a bit of an Arrow fanboy inside. It is my favourite TV show of all time after all, so I'm always going to be very excited for a new season of Arrow. But this season really looks to have something special and just something very game-changing, given obviously the main theme being Oliver in prison. There's just something about this season that feels really different, and after watching the episode twice now, I can say that this episode is different. First off, we see the episode opening with William running through the forest and Felicity in tow while being chased by Ricardo Diaz. This then leads into a scene where we see Diaz actually shoot Felicity and kill her, and then this is when Oliver wakes up in prison, and we get to see a bit of a montage of Oliver kind of just living his life in prison. You kind of see this a couple times. You get to see Oliver just kind of living his day-to-day life in prison with that really annoying prison guard who wakes him up every day. And they also use the song Madness by Rule in the background, which is really interesting. DC seems to really like that song. They used it in the Titans trailer and now they use it here. But it's a really good song, I can't lie, so it was cool to hear it here. But this is just a nice scene to really get you into the swing of things of what life is like for Oliver just on a day-to-day basis, because obviously, you know, you can't really do much when you're in prison, so what does Oliver get up to? You get to see that. It's pretty much just the same thing, you know, every single day, and you get to see that established here. This then leads into the introduction of our three returning villains from the history of Arrow who are in slabside with Oliver. We have Ben Turner, aka Bronze Tiger, Derek Sampson, aka Stardust, and we also have Danny Brickwell. And it's really cool to see all these villains again, I'm not gonna lie. I think it was really awesome to see them all. I mean, Stardust was obviously quite a recent villain, but then like Bronze Tiger, you know, he was in the first couple of seasons, and it was really nice to see Brick again. I forgot how much I liked Brick actually. He's actually just like a really fun presence, especially because Vinnie Jones is, you know, such an entertaining actor. It's just fun to have him back on the show, especially to see him interacting with Oliver. It's really fun. So, and again, having that perspective where everybody in this prison now knows that Oliver Queen is the guy who put them in there, so it's really fun to kind of see that interaction. And I really like seeing these villains again, especially Brick. I really like seeing Danny Brickwell again. This then leads into a scene where we see the new Green Arrow or Green Arrow imposter appear, where he takes down a guy and delivers him to the SCPD. We get to see some, we don't really see him, we basically just see a shadow of him, but it is really cool. Obviously we see him that he is striking again. So the guy who this new Green Arrow takes down is then interviewed and interrogated by the new head of the SCPD, Miss Dinah Drake. Now, in terms of Dinah overall in this episode, I really liked her. I like Juliana Harkavy a lot as an actress. I think she's really cool. So to see her get a big upgrade here into being the head of the SCPD, I think that was really awesome. Also, what's cool is she's trying to prove to the city that the SCPD can be trusted again under new leadership, because obviously last season they were all corrupted by Diaz, they were all on his payroll, so it was really nice to actually see that she was trying to fix the police department, you know, trying to reinstall that trust in the SCPD that was lost last season. So that was a really cool thing, and I think this is going to be an interesting route to take Dinah, especially because she's kind of going to be Quentin's replacement, in the sense that Quentin was obviously always our connection to the SCPD and things like that. Now Dinah is going to play in that role. Then we see Felicity and William. Now Felicity is working as a barista in a coffee shop, and we see her with her pink hair and her piercings, so obviously she's kind of going undercover. She also has the undercover name of Erin. She's going by the name of Erin, and we see her just kind of living her life, and she goes home, and William, you know, her and William are now living together. William hasn't changed much really at all, but Felicity obviously has gone through quite a lot of changes ever since we last saw her, due to her being in the witness protection program with Diggle and thanks to Argus. We then move over to Rene Ramirez, and we get to see what he's getting up to this season. And we saw in the trailer a while ago that we see him, he's actually training kids, and we actually see him officially, now we officially know what it is, he's doing self-defense classes. His daughter Zoe is of course part of this class. And I really like Rene this season. I really like what they're doing with him. Rene has always been a bit of a dodgy character. I wasn't the biggest fan of him in Season 6 or Season 5. I liked him a little bit more in Season 6. But it was really interesting to see where they're taking him in Season 7. Especially because next episode it looks like he could be working for the FBI with Samandra Watson. So I think Rene, outside of Oliver, might be the most interesting character this season. And everything he got to do this episode, especially his interactions with the new Green Arrow and his interactions with Dinah, I thought were really interesting. And we then cut to the DA's office, and we actually get to see Black Siren, Earth 2 Laurel Lance, who is now the District Attorney of Star City. We get to see her answering questions about this new Green Arrow, and she addresses the crowd saying that this is definitely not Oliver Queen. And what's interesting is, obviously, with Earth 2 Laurel now posing as Earth 1 Laurel to the public, this allowed her to pretty much get into the District Attorney's office and get into the DA position pretty quickly, given that she was the Assistant District Attorney back in Season 4. It was quite good, you know, because she could just go into that position quite naturally, given that the public think this is Earth 1 Laurel. So it's quite interesting. It doesn't obviously make entire sense that she was able to get it into there, because surely people would be like, oh yeah, well, surely you don't have all this knowledge, like surely people will be able to pick up on that. But whatever, I guess these are just things you have to get over. It's a comic book show at the end of the day. But it's an interesting role. There's not too much Black Siren in this episode, it's just this one scene. But I am interested to see what they take with her as the season progresses. Now, we also move over to Curtis. Now, I didn't actually think Curtis was in this episode, especially because Curtis has been in so little of the footage we've seen in Arrow Season 7. But it turns out he's actually the head of R&D, so the head of research and development at Argus. He's now working at Argus with John. I have to say, I didn't see that coming. I didn't know what they were going to do with Curtis this season. I thought maybe he was going to turn, you know, Helix into a business like him and Felicity planned. But no, he's actually working for Argus. I think that's really awesome. I love that. I think that's a really cool idea. Especially because we have found out that in episode 3 he's going to be going undercover for Argus. And at first I was kind of confused by that. But obviously he's working for them, so that's really cool. And again, I didn't expect that. I think that was completely out of the blue. But I think it's a cool decision. It's definitely a good place to put Curtis as well. You know, in research and development, that's his thing. So it's a good place to put him. And, you know, seeing as he's not in the field, he's putting his skills to really good use here. And I think that's going to be a really cool thing for him to do. Now, I also want to talk about the new character of Stanley in this episode, who is the kind of like little guy who's in prison with Oliver. And I have to say, I felt really bad for this guy. Like, you know, you actually find out that he is being framed for a murder, and that's why he's in Slabside. He's actually innocent. And there are so many scenes where, you know, he's basically just begging Oliver for his protection. He knows Oliver is this amazing fighter. He knows he's the Green Arrow. He knows that he always, you know, he's a hero. And he's begging Oliver for protection because he just gets bullied in there, absolutely destroyed. And there's even that scene where obviously he gets absolutely pummeled by Brick and Stardust in a way to sort of, you know, get Oliver's attention, and Oliver just completely ignores it and he gets beaten up to hell. And I think the actor did a really fantastic job. I think he's really good in this role. And yeah, I just felt really bad for him. I just think he was a really, you know, he's a really innocent character, and just to see him getting beaten up and just tormented in this way was really quite sad. Like I said, I think the actor really pulled it off. So I'm interested to see where they take Stanley, and if him and Oliver's relationship will build and they actually will become friends. And will we actually see him on the outside? That'd be really cool. So I think Stanley has a bit of a future on this show. So this moves into a actual committed fight scene where we actually see that shower sequence that we've been waiting for a long time, where we see Oliver in the shower fight scene and he's being attacked by, I think it's like 4 different guys at once. So that's a really cool fight scene. It's really brutal, it's really rough, it's really gritty, it's grounded, and we see Oliver just pummeling all these guys. It's really awesome. And while all this is going on, corresponding with that, we actually see Diaz, who actually breaks in to Felicity's apartment and tries to kill Felicity and William. And we see Felicity and Diaz get into a bit of a scrap as well, and this corresponds. And one of the guys who's attacking Oliver in prison then has him on the ground and says, you know, the only reason you're still breathing is so you can get this message. Diaz found Felicity, he's killed your wife, she's dead. Obviously this isn't successful. You actually find out that Argus actually broke into the apartment before Diaz was able to kill Felicity. But it's still an interesting way, and I like that, you know, the corresponding fight scenes. I mean, the Felicity and Diaz one isn't anything exciting, because obviously Felicity is not a very good fighter, but it was really cool to see the Oliver one. I really love, you know, we've been waiting for that scene, that shower fight scene, and it really paid off for me. We then see Felicity and Oliver actually having a meeting in prison. You know, she becomes a visitor for Oliver, and I believe this is the first time that Felicity has ever seen Oliver in prison, so this is the first time they've seen each other since he was arrested. And I have to say, you know, Stephen Amell and Emily Bett Rickards, they really did a great job together. I mean, I think that, you know, Stephen Amell really boosts Emily Bett Rickards a lot of the time in these scenes, but I have to say, Emily, she really did a fantastic job here, just by herself as well. And I think this is probably one of the best Olicity scenes that has ever been on the show. I think, you know, I'm not a huge fan of Olicity, but I think it's really cool to see, you know, these two actors just actually act at each other. It's something you don't get often with these two characters. And, you know, they're both absolutely distraught, they're both just sick of everything, but they still are trying to prove their love for each other, and I think that was really good. I think they both did an excellent job in this scene. I thought it was really well acted on both ends. So Felicity then goes back to the Argus facility where she finds William, who is having to be protected there, and she's actually going to send him off to boarding school, which I'm very, very happy about. I'm not a big fan of William on the show. I never have been. I've always been very vocal about that. I've always been very vocal about the fact I don't like it when superheroes on these shows have kids. I think it's just a terrible idea. It's not too bad on The Flash when you've got Nora and she's, you know, a 30-year-old woman from the future. That's okay, I can deal with that. It's child actors, and if the child actor's good, then fine, but, you know, most of the time they're not, and, you know, Jack Moore is just not the strongest actor. However, I will say, I actually thought he was okay in this episode. I will say, I think Jack Moore did a pretty good job in this episode, given his previous performances. But anyway, back to the point, Felicity is sending him off to boarding school, so like I say, I think this is a good choice. I think this is a good decision. You know, just get William off the show. He can show up every now and then when he needs to, but, you know, if they didn't do this, he would have just been hanging around like he was in Season 6. It was a bit weird. So I think it's a good decision. Send him away and just get him off the show, and then bring him back when you need to. It's a good decision. And with that, Felicity sent him off with the Hosen. I love the fact that this has come back. I love the fact that the Hosen is actually staying relevant, because obviously this is the thing that Oliver gave to Thea when he first came back off the island. And it turns out Thea gave it to Felicity, who's now given it to William. I think that's a really nice, you know, it's like that legacy idea. I think it's really cool. And again, just seeing the Hosen staying relevant is amazing. However, ladies and gentlemen, this leads into the most mind-blowing, incredible thing about this entire episode, and this absolutely just, you know, blew my mind when I watched it this morning, and once again when I watched it the second time. This scene absolutely floored me. The final scene, we actually see the new Green Arrow in his base of operations, and we actually see him crossing off the list. Oh my god, the list is back. I mean, you don't understand. I mean, I have so much nostalgia for Arrow, especially in Season 1. So the fact that this new Green Arrow, whoever he may be, has a list, I think is amazing. I think that's such a good idea, and I love the fact they're bringing it. I've been waiting for Oliver to bring the list back. I really thought he was going to do it last season, after episode 18. I really thought he was going to do it, but we didn't get that, but we're getting the list with this new Green Arrow. Obviously, this new Green Arrow is not Oliver, but I would love... I just love the fact that this new Green Arrow has a list. I think that's insane. And the mind-blowing doesn't stop there, Super Friends, because as we move into the next scene, we see this character who keeps popping up a couple of times throughout the episode. We see this new character who we've never seen before. And we see him, at first he's on a boat, and he goes to Lian Yu. So he's going to the island that Oliver was on, you know, for those 5 years in hell, or, well, 3 years in hell. And we actually see him a couple of times. We see him walking around the island. We see him looking at Robert Queen's grave. And we're kind of thinking, who is this new character? Like, who is this guy? Because this is really strange. Because, you know, it's a completely new character. It's a new actor. So who is this guy? And why is he on Lian Yu? How does he know about Lian Yu? Why is he looking at Robert Queen's grave, of all people? Like, it was a really strange moment. But then we see him captured by Roy Harper. So this is how Roy comes back into the show. Obviously, you guys know, if you've been keeping up with my videos, how excited I am that Colton Haynes is a series regular once again on the show. Roy is one of my favourite characters in the history of Arrow. And seeing his face once again, my god, was I excited. And I will just jump to the final scene. Roy has this new character captured, and he's saying to him, "Who sent you?" And this new character pulls out the Hosen and says, "You know my father." Roy then replies, "How am I supposed to know who your old man is?" And then this character replies, "My father's name is Oliver Queen." This is William. My god, I mean, I didn't even know what to do with myself. This was insane. And then Roy comes out of the shadow, pulls his hood off, and you can see it's actually an old version of Roy. It's an older Roy Harper. What is going on? I mean, this was mental. I was absolutely just bewildered by this entire thing. So, wow. So what I'm going to assume this is that this is a flash forward. Obviously, Arrow is famous for its flashbacks, but this is now a flash forward. We're now going into the future, and we have William going to Lian Yu, searching out Roy for whatever reason. Now, obviously, we could speculate about this all day. I'll do a separate video on this, hopefully later on this week when I get the time. But my basic theory about this is that Roy perhaps takes up the mantle of the Green Arrow. I still personally think Roy is this new Green Arrow. I'm just going to say that. I think Roy is still in the present day timeline. I think he's still going to be, you know, with the characters that we know, he's still going to be there, he's still going to return. But I personally feel like, you know, this is a separate thing. So Roy takes up the mantle of the Green Arrow, and he goes away and, you know, either just retires or goes into exile on Lian Yu, kind of like Oliver did at the end of Season 1. And with that, I'm going to say in this future timeline, Oliver is dead and is left without a Green Arrow, left without a protector. So William, who's now grown up, wants to train and become the new Green Arrow. He wants to become Connor Hawke, essentially, but he doesn't have Oliver to teach him. So he goes to the next best thing, who was the imposter Green Arrow, let's say, and who was Oliver's sidekick, Roy. So he finds out that Roy is on Lian Yu, he goes there, he seeks him out, and he's going to ask Roy to train him. That's my personal theory. Now, what they're actually going to do with this storyline, I have no idea. If we're going to get a flash forward every episode, I don't know. Obviously, we're just going to have to wait and see. I know nothing about this. It was incredibly insane. And just seeing old man Roy Harper. Now, in regards to Roy, obviously, I mentioned that I think he's the imposter Green Arrow, and I still believe that. Now, I could be completely wrong there. But one thing that's interesting to point out is that in the scene on the Lian Yu in the future, he is actually wearing a red costume, not a green one. He's not wearing the Green Arrow suit. He's wearing, I don't think it's the Arsenal suit, but he's wearing a red suit for sure. So, you know, who knows what's going on with this future flashback. I'm getting out of breath talking about this because I just have so many questions and so many theories about what's going on with this. But make sure you let me know everything you think about this in the comment section down below, because this is easily the most interesting thing coming out of this premiere. But what did you guys think about this episode? Make sure you tell me all your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Did you think this was a good start to the season, or do you think it was a bit weak? Let me know all your thoughts. Like I said, I think this was a great start. In my opinion, this is how you do a season premiere. Flash did a great one, but then Supergirl did a terrible one. So I think Arrow really just... I think Arrow's the best one we've gotten so far. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see for Legends next week, but I think this is easily the best season premiere we have gotten for the Arrowverse shows. It was absolutely mind-blowing. My only complaint with it is I think structurally it's a bit messy, it's a bit all over the place. It kind of just jumps to different characters all over the place. The only real parts of the episode that had structure were Oliver's storyline in prison, and then this, you know, William's storyline in the future. But then everything else was just kind of like, you know, oh, let's jump to the Rene, and then to Dinah, and then to Felicity, and it was just kind of all over the place. But other than that, I thought this was a really strong start. I thought it was amazing, and like I said, what it's teased to come, the mysteries it's set up with the new Green Arrow, everything it's set up and established with our characters, and whatever's going on with this future William Roy Harper storyline, I am so intrigued. But make sure you let me know everything you thought about this premiere in the comment section down below. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV, and get them to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, and Arrow. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.